Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Man's Noble Beer Reviews. Today I have another beer from Maine Brewing Company out of Freeport, Maine. This beer is just called Fall. You can see there, if you're not familiar with their labels, they're very, very clean and simplistic. You can see their description, it's coffee stout. And it is 5.6 ABV. It just said this developed from one of our former pilot beers. Stout made with cold brew coffee, and yeah, that's about it. So I'm gonna crack this open and see what we got here. Had it backwards. Now, the one thing I really like about Maine Brewing is everything they make is, they usually don't do anything very crazy, but everything they make is just very simple, very well made and well balanced, and you know, it's not flashy, but it's good. So that's all I care about. And I mean, this label obviously doesn't show the quality of the beer, but it shows that they're not flashy, at least I would think. See, it pours a pretty dark brown color with about 2 fingers worth of pretty fluffy beige head. So I definitely get some like lighter, like blonde roast cold brew coffee. It almost seems like. Doesn't smell like super dark like espresso like coffee. I definitely get some dark fruit notes, like fig and tobacco almost. And there's a little bit of like earthy hop character as well. That's really nice. The carbonation level was a little higher than I would like for this type of beer. I know I say this a lot with these lower ABV stouts, but for me, like, I don't need a beer to be super thick and alcoholic, but I do like stouts to be lower in carbonation. That prickly carbonation to me kind of, I don't know, there's just something weird about it that doesn't work for me in stouts as much. This one isn't like super carbonated, but I that's just one initial thing that I wish was like a little lower. Yeah, the hops are like very prevalent in this. The coffee is not, so you could tell this one's not like completely loaded with coffee. I would say it has a nice like earthy, hoppy, roasty bitterness up front. And then it finishes with a really nice, mellow, lighter coffee note. It's kind of the opposite of a lot of coffee stouts. A lot of coffee stouts, you get this really big, bright coffee in the front end, but then it finishes with like this acrid, bitter, burnt flavor. This is kind of the opposite of that. Excuse me. And not that the forefront is acrid or burnt, but it's definitely a lot more aggressive, and you get the coffee in the back end. So I mean, that I would say I would leave that one up to interpretation, whether that's a good or a bad thing. For me, I like it. I like the aggressiveness up front, and then a nice, smooth finish. Because you get so many beers that have like a nice flavor up front, but they got this weird off flavor in the back end, and it kind of just ruins the whole thing. And that's not what's going on here. It's just more aggressive up front, but it's not, there's nothing flawed about it. It's just a lot hoppier than most American stouts are now. It's funny, like, American stout used to mean that it was hoppier than, like, English stouts, which I guess is probably true in the actual IBUs, but as far as, like, perceived bitterness, some of those really sweet stouts, they have, like, 0 perceived bitterness, even though they're probably, like, 70 IBUs. But this, you definitely You know, sometimes with stouts, it's hard to tell if the bitterness is between like the roasted malt and or bitter coffee. If there's coffee in it versus a hop bitterness. This definitely is coming off to me as hop bitterness because I get like the little bit of that earthy flavor too. That's funny. Like I said up front that I thought it was a little overcarbonated for my liking, but I don't know that if I'm either getting acclimated to it or it's just, you know, that head is settling down. So I'm getting some of that CO2 is maybe falling back into the beer, which you would think would make it more carbonated, but maybe it's being more evenly distributed. I admit I am not a scientist when it comes to like how carbonation, if it can get back into the beer from the head or how that works, or if it just automatically evaporated out. But as I'm drinking it, it's seeming like more soft and silky, which is, you know, what I really prefer in a stout, whether it's a high ABV one or one that's only, you know, 5 to 6%. Yeah, that front end seriously reminds me of like Storm King or something. It's really hoppy, but the back end is really nice, light, clean roasted coffee. None of that acidic. I don't know why I couldn't say that word. None of that acidic coffee character or any of the, you know, the green pepper flavors that you can get from coffee. This is, I would honestly say that if I didn't know there was coffee in this, I would maybe think that flavor I'm getting is just from the malt, the roasted malts, because sometimes, you know, there definitely are stouts that have a pretty significant coffee flavor that don't have coffee in them. So that's kind of where this is falling. So really, if you want like a big coffee flavored beer, I don't want to say don't buy this because this is still a really good beer, but you're not going to get that out of this. You're just not. And this isn't like super fresh, but it's only like 4 months old. So I mean, the coffee shouldn't fall off that quickly. So I really don't think there was that much to begin with. But on my scale of buy, drink, dump, I think bottle was like $6 or something. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing mind blowing about this, but there's something to be said about just having a really simple, nice, lower ABV stout without a bunch of crap in it. But this is like, it is different than, let's say, like Edmund Fitzgerald Porter. It has a little bit more heft than that. Where, you know, I know porters and stouts are kind of interchangeable at this point. They're really not any different. It's all kind of like a marketing thing. But this does have a pretty substantial body for only being 5.6%. So I give them credit for that. So yeah, I would buy this again. I think it's really well made, and I would recommend checking it out. I think that's all I got in this one. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think, and I look forward to doing the next one. Thanks.